Welcome back to On Track GP, where we're bringing you the recap from probably the most electric and exciting qualifying of the year. Really, wow, what an insane qualifying we just had in Singapore. What are your thoughts on it, Sam? Do you think it was going to be that crazy?
No, like not at all, really. Like I think throughout the weekend we've seen that Red Bull have obviously been struggling. Like Max has been talking a lot about the car. He hasn't been overly happy with it, and like there was a few talks that maybe that's him talking it up a bit more than it was, but clearly it wasn't. Like he struggled for pace the whole time, and then yeah, he just didn't get out of Q2. And Sergio Perez obviously had his little incident as well. So yeah, I
Yeah,
can't remember the last time we had a Q3 without any Red Bull car in it. So yeah, it was unbelievably shocking. Like what a grid for tomorrow, really.
yeah, fantastic little grid for tomorrow. We'll touch on Red Bull in a little bit. Just to mention there, I heard after the qualifying it was Russia in 2018 the last time we happened to Red Bull in
Oh,
Q3. So
wow, okay.
that's
So for
5 years
5 years,
ago.
blimey, yeah, that's
But,
not a bad record, is it? Is
no,
it?
it's not at all. So let's just touch on Q1. Obviously, the talking point there, the massive accident for Lance Stroll. You could see him coming through the corners. He was really struggling with that Aston Martin. Do you think that could be set up, or was he just maybe pushing too hard?
It's hard to know, really. I think I haven't heard what he said yet, but I think it is probably just a little mistake. I mean, Alonso did okay with it. He's obviously got through to Q3. He just looked because weirdly the TV camera is absolutely following it at the perfect time, so we witnessed the crash live as it happened. And it just looked like he gave it a little bit too much. The back kicked out, and then he's going at such high speed that any kind of mistake there, like you're flying into the wall. Like I mean, it was obviously a really big crash, but it just shows how good safety in F1 is now that he can do that and he's absolutely fine. Like he got out of the car. Like obviously his engineers aren't going to be thrilled because now they've got a race to get ready for the race. Like they've got essentially put a whole new wheel on. Like his wheel came ripping off. So that's a long overnight for them. And yeah, just another not great moment for Stroll. Like we starting to have to see a lot of these now, like where Alonso's just outclassing him really. And like it's these errors that don't really help. But obviously his crash also had massive impacts on Oscar Piastri because I think Oscar Piastri said he was very near the end line or getting close to that point when the red flag came and just eliminated his lap. So yeah, he went out in Q3 and like Q1 side, and then yeah. So even that crash for Stroll has obviously knock-on effects for someone like Piastri.
Yeah, for sure. That was actually going to be my next point to talk to you about Piastri. Obviously doesn't have all the upgrades as teammate Lando Norris has, but he could have been in a good position there to get into Q2. I think a lot of drivers are trying to put in the laps towards the end with how quick the track was getting, which you seem to know the fastest. So just unfortunate timing, really.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's complete pot luck that happened when it happened. Really, like the idea of teams is they want to send their drivers out late as possible because then the track is evolving, as they say, it's
Yeah,
getting quicker and quicker. So you do run that risk that if something like this happens, then you're going to be heading out. But I think they were fairly confident they would make it to Q2. We saw that Norris obviously ended up much higher. I think he's P4 in the end. So Piastri probably expecting somewhere similar. Yes, he hasn't got the upgrades that Norris has. Again, for the second time this season, that he's been left behind. It happened in Austria where Lando got all the goodies and then Oscar's waiting again. So I don't know how annoyed he is about that. Obviously, he's a rookie, so he's probably not too annoyed. But yeah, it's probably not a great feeling when your teammate keeps getting all the upgrades. But yeah, it's going to be a very hard race for him tomorrow. You suspect like Singapore isn't a track where you can overtake that easily. It's very tight. It's not as tight as somewhere like Monaco, but it's sort of that kind of level. So I think the qualifying day is hugely important, and the fact that he's like P18, whatever he is down there, like that's not going to give him much hope going into tomorrow.
no, but hopefully you can make up some positions. You never know. Safety cars, 100% safety
Mhm.
car record here in Singapore, but yeah, move on to Q2. Obviously, we were talking about at the start. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez both out in Q2. That was a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, I mean that's the big headline, isn't it? Like, I think I think even if Max is having a bad day, we don't expect him to come out Q2. Like, he's always going to be that kind of guy that says he's having a bad time. And it's a bit like Hamilton of old, where Hamilton used to say his tires were gone and then he'd set a fastest lap or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, whenever Verstappen moans these days, it seems like he's moaning about very small things, and that will be the difference of him getting pole by like a full second or a few tenths. But this time, it generally was he was having issues. I mean, if you're watching the qualifying as it happened, you saw his car going around corners. It was just slipping and sliding everywhere. He just wasn't sticking to the surface at all. Like, and there's a lot of rumors like why that is. Like, is it just the Red Bull car doesn't work at Singapore very well, or does it coincide the fact that we had this new technical directive, which is sort of limited, or just sort of refine the rules a little bit of how flexible some parts can be? Has that had an impact on Red Bull? I mean, that's hard to say after one session. Really, like you have to wait till I think at least till Suzuka next week to see if that's really the case. But yeah, for whatever reason, even after 3 full practice sessions, they've not been able to get that car where they want it to be, which doesn't pose like great hopes for them going into tomorrow, does it? If they can't do it after this much time, like what are they going to do overnight? Because there's minimal changes you can make now between the race. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge shock, and because he's been dominating this year. Like the fact he's starting a P11, like I said, at a track that's not overly great at overtaking, and his car is just not in the perfect way it should be at the moment. Yeah, this may be this is probably a very realistic chance that his win streak is going to come to an end.
It reminded me somewhat of a few years ago, if you remember Mercedes dominance, and the same thing used to happen to them at Singapore. It was very funny, the kind of the same things you seen going on there. Maybe
I mean, it seems to be this weird track where like teams do well. I think even Ferrari is surprised at how well they did. Like, I think I heard Fred Vasseur talking. He was saying like, "Oh, we expect to do well at Monza. We didn't really expect this. Like, we're unbelievably quick." But yeah, it must be so frustrating for the Red Bull side that they just can't work out what they need to do for this car. Like, it shows that it's not just a driver thing. The fact that both drivers are having issues with it, it's obviously a car setup issue, but like I said, they can make minimal changes between now and the start of the race, and I don't really think they can fix that in that time.
Yeah. Do you think it would be worth, from a team point of view, do you think it would be worth breaking the Parc Fermé rules and maybe starting from the pit lane with a
I mean, it all depends. Like, so when we're recording, it hasn't had that announcement of the grid penalty. So if he gets a grid penalty that shoves him down to like 17th or something, they might say, yeah, let's start from the pit lane. Like, that gives us a better chance to start in P17 as is. But yeah, I think P11, I think they'd probably say we might as well stick where we are, like, unless they know for 100% sure that's going to fix it. But then you're sacrificing 9 places. So I think if he gets a few grid penalties where he gets 1-on-1, like that sends them a bit further down the grid, maybe that's something to consider. But for the time being, speaking before the huge list of steward decisions have come out, like, I think they'd probably stick with P11 where they are.
Yeah. All I've heard on that is a number of drivers being investigated. There isn't even a list. It's just a number of drivers or so many. But just to throw in there as well, at the end of Q2, the person that knocked out Max Verstappen was actually Liam Lawson, and he was the only driver to get through into Q3. What do you think of his performance at Singapore? It's only his 3rd race after all, or his 3rd weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great performance. Like, it's obviously a very difficult circuit, as we've seen other more experienced drivers having issues. Like, yeah, he's doing really well. I think Tsunoda obviously did really well to show that AlphaTauri car had a bit of pace. Like, that car came with a load of upgrades this weekend. I think it showed that there is an improvement there. Tsunoda topped Q1. He had an issue in Q2 where first of all he got stuck behind Max, and then secondly he made a mistake and he went out. But then Lawson showed that they do have pace, and like the fact that Lawson's knocking out Max Verstappen, like, that says a lot of how well he's doing. Like, so yeah, it's a great result for him, and like hopefully, like as I said, because it's hard to overtake, maybe he can hold on to it. I mean, it's a tough ask. He's got both Sergio and Max behind him. So if he wants to hold on to that points paying spot, it's going to be a bit of a difficult situation. But yeah, it's just, so far, it's been quite a positive weekend for AlphaTauri. The fact that both cars have shown a bit more pace. Like, yes, it's probably too late in the season to do anything about it, but maybe going forward, they can sort of take hope from what they've learned from this race.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on to Q3. Finally, Q3. Obviously, Sainz on pole for the first time in his career, 2 consecutive pole positions. And it's a funny stat that the last time Ferrari were on pole back-to-back was Monza and Singapore last year.
Oh, right, I didn't know that. Yeah, so yeah, I think Sainz has sort of really hit this really golden period of form where, like, I think everyone's sort of assumed that Leclerc's like the #1 driver for Ferrari, but Sainz is, like you said, he's got pole in Monza, now he's done it again in Singapore. Like, throughout I said, as much as I said that Verstappen was having issues, I think the exact opposite can be said about Sainz. Like, he was so quick in like every practice session, and like
in the beginning,
I think he got P1 and P2 or something like that. So yeah, he only failed to finish top in one of the practice sessions, and like, he's just something about it. Like, this car works well there. He really knows how to get the best out of it. So yeah, I think he's going to be a tough ass to beat for the race tomorrow. I think you've got George Russell next to him. He's obviously shown he's good at this track. You've got Leclerc. I think wasn't quite happy with his lap. I think he could have maybe believed he could get pole. But yeah, as it stands, like, Sainz is in a great position to win only the 2nd race in his career after Silverstone last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so hopefully, and you mentioned there George Russell, a great effort from the Mercedes driver. Do you think his chance of staying on the podium tomorrow, even challenging for the win, maybe, if he can get a good start?
Yeah, I do. I do think there's definitely a good chance of podium, and like, yeah, I think the win's certainly in contention. Like, I think out of the two Mercedes drivers, Russell's shown he's much better on this track. He's just getting pace out of the car. There was an interesting bit on Sky where Norris and Russell were looking at their prospective laps, and you could see how close Russell was getting to the wall, and like he obviously has confidence that this car is going to stay where it is. In complete contrast to Verstappen, where he's not sure if he's going to slide over the place, and that's just really helped. Like, that confidence has been building and building, and now he's got P2. Again, he probably would have been a little bit disappointed not to get the pole, but yeah, I mean, with Verstappen where he is, like, and Perez even further behind him, I think there's a chance like any one of like those top 5 drivers could get the win. Like, that's how evenly balanced they've been throughout this year. Like, and I think Verstappen, it depends how quickly he can get up through the pack. If he can start challenging, is a podium on, but asking for a win's a big ask. So, like I said, this could be the time his streak ends. And I think right now you can pick any one of those top 5 and say they've got a good chance of winning tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be quite an exciting race tomorrow. Yeah, there's just a shout out before we go as well. Haas, 2 cars in Q3, and Magnussen ahead of Alonso. That was a good effort from the team.
Yeah, especially from Magnussen. Like, he's had these problems all year. Hulkenberg's just been absolutely destroying qualifying. I think if Hulkenberg won this qualifying session, he would have like won more. He would have beaten his teammate in qualifying. That would have been confirmed. Like, Magnussen couldn't catch up. Like, and you'd think, having had a good year last year, and the fact that Hulkenberg was new to the team, you think that Magnussen would do much better. And it's just been the complete other way around. Except when we got to Singapore, for some reason, like, I think a good thing about this Haas car, well, good and bad, is the good thing is that it fires up its tires really quickly, so they can do really quick laps and straight away. Obviously, that's also a bad thing in the race because it just means they shred through tires. So we'll see tomorrow, like, how high up he can stay. I mean, he was quite not what's the word? He was quite up for the fight. Really, he was saying, "I'm not going to give anyone an easy time behind me." So we'll see what comes of that. Like I said, the Haas car just absolutely eats through tires. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes. Maybe he gets a fortunate safety car and he can sort of run in and get a new fresh set of tires. But yeah, other than that, great qualifying result for both the drivers. So that must be hugely pleasing for the team.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just before we finish up, Sam, can just get your predictions for tomorrow. What's your top 3 for the podium?
Ooh, good question. I'm gonna get Sainz. I think Sainz can win it. I mean, I know Joe's not here, so like we won't give the Ferrari curse. But yeah, one time he's away, Ferrari do well. I mean, that says a lot about him. So I'm gonna get Sainz top. I'm gonna Russell second. Oh, I'm tempted to say Leclerc, but I know that's the podium order. But yeah, maybe I'll swap it up. I'm gonna go Sainz, Leclerc, Russell. That's my top 3.
Yeah, cool. I think I'll go for Sainz. Like you said, I think there'll be no stopping him if he gets out in front. I'm going to go and say Russell again for second, and I'm going to throw in a wild one here and say Hamilton for third because he's always kind of epic around this circuit. So who knows? We'll see.
So that's a good shout. I think Mercedes have a really good race pace. I think that could come true.
And I don't know, was it Russell or Hamilton said after qualifying they have an extra set of softs so they can go or mediums, my apologies, so they can go 2 stops if they need to. So there's all that.
Yeah, and that could be hugely like consequential. Like we saw how well Ferrari did with their extra softs in qualifying. Like that can definitely play a factor. So the fact they've kept one behind you'd like to think that would help them massively tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Sam. I hope you enjoyed the session. Hopefully it'll be
no worries. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, make sure to join us back on Track GP tomorrow at 12:30. We'll be going live for the Singapore Grand Prix watch along. And make sure you keep an eye across Planet F1 and on Track GP on socials. We'll keep you up to date with all those so many infringements coming and penalties to be coming, I'm sure. So thanks very much for joining in and watching the recap. And make sure you like and comment down there, wherever it is. And we'll see you very soon. See you, guys.